Morning, all, and this is why I report on trade rumors the way that I do. So Ryan Donato is now a member of the San Jose Sharks, according to Pierre LeBrun, and it's the third round pick that was Pittsburgh's that had been previously acquired by San Jose. That's going to Minnesota for next year. So not any draft picks this year. It's next year's draft. Now, it's been rumored that Donato and the Sharks was going to become a thing. Now, of course, the other part of this was Dubnyk's name was tied to it as well. And that's why I report from official sources rather than throw a bunch of trade rumors out there. Because this is one that I've been talking about for, 4 or 5 days, and then it happens. And we'll see how Donato does for the Sharks. Ryan Donato's a good forward. And I think there's a good goal scorer there. And I think it's a matter of finding that consistency. And he's had his moments both as a Boston Bruin and as a member of the Minnesota Wild, and now in San Jose. We'll see what happens. And also Minnesota got Nico Sturm to sign a 2-year extension today as well. So Minnesota's busy, and San Jose picks up a little bit of depth up front, and that's what this is about. It's a depth move. I do think that San Jose fans will like Donato for his overall talent and his nose for the net. And Ryan Donato's, again, he's a player that I liked. I understood why Boston didn't have him in the lineup when he was a Bruin, and yet I on some level was always rooting for him to come back and make it work. So hopefully he makes it work in San Jose. The Pittsburgh Penguins have made their fan base likely happy today. Jack Johnson rumors have been going for years. Jack Johnson talk has been going for years as well. They've put him on waivers for the purpose of a buyout. And so this is where the question would be asked to Jim Rutherford, why now? And again, Jack Johnson, after this buyout, I guarantee you somebody's going to sign him. Now, I don't know how much money he's going to make. I don't know where he's going to end up. But Jack Johnson he's a big physical defenseman. Somebody somewhere is going to say, I think we can make this work. And we'll see how that goes. But I do think as a depth defenseman, somebody's going to have some interest on Jack Johnson. But again, it feels like they could have done this a year ago, and Jim Rutherford was saying, well, there's a trade market for Johnson, and I had guys calling me. And then it didn't happen. So we'll see how this goes for Pittsburgh this offseason. But again, it did look like with recent moves made by the Penguins that Johnson was probably going to be the odd man out. Also worthy of note, it looks like there won't be a qualifying offer for Dominic Simone, and he'll go to the unrestricted free agent market. So again, as I mentioned last week and recently, we're going to probably see some guys hit the UFA market who may not have, if not for the flat salary cap. And so teams are going to get a little bit cheaper than they normally would. And I think in some cases that might be for the better, where maybe you're going to have GMs tightening the purse strings, and sometimes that actually works out for the better. Sometimes not, but sometimes it does. Now, of course, the big news today, if you're a Calgary fan, is that this is now the jersey again. They went back to the 80s, so I threw on my brand new Rodicelio jersey, because why not? And so retro is now the standard. And so the home and away are going to be the old ones. And, yeah, I've already got them, so, and I think that's what it is. I think it's that the retro jerseys were just outselling the regular jersey. The Canadian flag, the Alberta flag, neither of those made any sense on their jersey that they had been sporting, because they weren't the only team in Alberta. They certainly weren't the only team in Canada. And a black sea is as cool as it looked, and I did like it. Was that supposed to be the flame? Because flames don't usually burn black. But again, I do prefer the retro style, and I'm glad that they went back. We'll see whether or not they have a third jersey this year. And that also means that I've got a whole bunch of Calgary jerseys that just became retro and vintage, and that's how that works. Give it 5-10 years, and then the jerseys that they've been wearing, people will be saying, I'd like to see that come back again, because that's kind of how that works. Jason Spezza has signed a 1-year extension with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that's perfectly fine. They're getting their house in order. The one thing that may very well drive Leaf fans nuts is that, if they just sign and keep everybody, if this team is virtually the same as the one that lost the play-in round to Columbus that starts next season, I will be interested to see how Leaf fans feel about that. Dubas is saying that he expects Anderson to be the starter next year. He's not denying that he's been looking at maybe upgrading his goaltending, and he says he's had conversations with Freddie Anderson over the last month. So it's possible that he's talked with Freddie about where the team might be looking, and maybe he's been, telling him, oh, if we could make an upgrade, we might, but you're good for us for now, kind of thing. I don't know. Kyle Dubas has a lot of work to do for the upcoming season, and keeping Spezza, keeping Malgin. It just, these are moves that you have to make because you have to keep your depth intact. And I don't think anybody's going to say that Spezza on the fourth line is a bad idea for Toronto, but we'll see what they do going into next season. What big move they can make, if any, are made. Because the team that lost to Columbus, the team that had played the regular season this year, definitely seemed to be heading in the wrong direction in terms of cup contention. So yeah, they will be a team to watch. And thankfully, the media will always be letting us know what's happening in Toronto. Ottawa, Josh Brown has signed a 2-year extension worth $1.2 million per year. Again, at the time Ottawa picked up Josh Brown, I thought that was a decent pickup. I still do, because it was last week. And I'm just saying because it's 2020, it feels like every week is a month and every month is a year. And so I could understand if people went, oh, I forgot they got Josh Brown. And I think that's meant to kind of absorb the loss of Borowiecki off the lineup. Borowiecki going to UFA, and now Brown signs at $1.2 million each. I guarantee that $1.2 million is probably less than half of what Borowiecki is going to get on the market. So again, this is Ottawa trying to find reasonable budget ways of keeping their lineup intact and keeping everything together. And the plan in Ottawa is to get better this coming season, right? That's the plan. Now, speaking of guys with the last name Johnson, Tyler Johnson in Tampa, Alex Killorn as well out of Tampa. There are rumors that they're on the market. And this is where Tampa fans say, well, Johnson has a no-trade clause. Right. But in general, a no-trade clause is meant to be there just so that a team can't call you and go, hey, so that team you hate? Yeah, I traded you there. Sorry, bud. That's just how that works. It is not meaning that a player won't be traded. It's so that a player has control over whether or not they're traded. For Killorn, there's a 16-team no-trade list that gets submitted. I think the deadline for that, because of the pandemic year and all, was last Friday, that he submitted 16 teams that he's like, I'm not being traded here. But that leaves you almost half the league to negotiate with. Arizona wishes they had that for OEL right now. But Killorn is the most likely to go, but they've basically called Johnson, hey, we're looking at the potential of trading you. And then it's a matter of they can go to Johnson and say, we've worked out a deal with Boston. We worked out a deal with Boston, and here's what we're thinking. Are you willing to waive your no-trade clause to go to Boston? He might say yes. They might call him and say, we've worked out a trade with Vancouver. And I don't want to go to Vancouver. Forget that. I'm not waiving for them. So that's what a no-trade clause really in all likelihood does here. Is it means that these players may very well say no. They may agree to it. And Tampa Bay just needs to come up with a deal that makes sense for themselves and for the player. And if they traded both Johnson and Killorn, I'm thinking it might be a one or the other, or it might be both situation, where to make room to sign Sergachev and to keep Cirelli, they say, we have to make this move here. And you get back future assets, I would think, and draft picks, that kind of thing. Which is, it's never a bad idea to have cap space and to have extra prospects and draft picks. But they may very well move both of them. But it's a matter of finding the right team that Tyler Johnson would say, yeah, I would waive to go there. The Coyotes, it would appear, are shopping Taylor Hall's rights. So I guess he looked at their cap situation and said, I don't think this is going to work. Or Arizona finally gave up on whatever number he's looking for and being able to meet that. And it may, while we're throwing the speculation out there, because it's that time of the year, maybe that's a sign that they're not able to find a deal with Oliver Ekman-Larsson. That the idea of, well, if we shipped out Ekman-Larsson, we could have enough cap space to re-sign Taylor Hall. They've probably talked to both Vancouver and Boston and looked at their options and said, you know what, we're better off keeping Ekman-Larsson, not making a bad trade to try to keep Taylor Hall, and let Taylor Hall go to unrestricted free agency. So, shopping his rights is, to me anyways, it's a sign that Ekman-Larsson may not be going anywhere. And I honestly think that's the better move. Making a trade of OEL to dump off OEL's cap space and re-signing Hall, there's a lot of danger in that. Now we get into how much is Hall going to get and for how long. Because the rumor has been Hall will take a contract of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The term isn't a big deal to him. He wants to go somewhere where he has a chance to win. So if he was offered a 1-year deal from, say, Tampa, who need cap space, but they say, all right, so Hall's going to come in for about the same money Johnson was making, just as an example. Maybe he says, I'll sign 1 year in Tampa and go back to the free agent market next year. Part of what I was talking about this, during the whole time when the NHL's coming back, is that we may see players taking 2-year deals, 3-year deals, bridge deals, who never would, because they could anticipate 2-3 years from now they can make a lot more money than they will on the market right now. So it's going to be an interesting time. This week's going to be very crazy busy, and I'm going to be here to cover all of it for all you fine people out there watching. So, thank you guys so much. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below if you're a Penguins fan and you're wondering, is this real? Yes, Jack Johnson is on his way to a buyout. And should I even speculate he goes to Toronto? No, we're not going to speculate that. We're gonna just leave that on the back burner, and we're just gonna leave that where it is, because I think he's probably gonna end up in Vancouver, and I'm not gonna do it. That's usually how that works out. I don't know how I'd feel about that. Anyways, let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just tapping upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.